And we are back. And welcome back to Truth Frequency Radio. You're listening to Quantum Connections with Lucky and Star. And we are excited and happy to welcome to the show Max Igan. He is a researcher, truth seeker, radio host, filmmaker, and one of the leaders of the Global Awakening movement. This man is a must listen to for all those serious about stopping the NWO in its tracks. He lives in Queensland, Australia. The pen name Max Igan, that he has become known throughout the researchers' world as an excellent researcher and speaker. The most famous films of Max Igan, especially those involved in the truth movement, are in 2008, The Awakening, 2009, The Calling, and Transformation in 2012. Welcome to Quantum Connections, Max Igan.
Thank you for having me on, girls. It's really nice to be here and talk to you.
Thank you. I am so glad Star was able to make contact with you, and you were on with her on Voices from Afar. Yes.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, I was on that show. Yeah. You're dropping out a little bit. There's a bit of a lag in the connection, so I hope the connection will be okay. But just see how we go with that. If I have to stop you and ask a question, I'll just let you know. But yeah, it was really nice to connect with her on that show the other day, and to connect with everybody on the show. And it's always good to come on Truth Frequency.
Well, thank you. We are very happy to have you here. I wanted to also touch base on your most recent interview with George Webb. You had a great one, great interview. He's been covering the things that make people uncomfortable, right? The truth about God. Well, you've been covering the truth about Gaza, and your interview with George Webb, The Crimes of the Clinton Foundation, and that conversation, I highly recommend everybody watch that YouTube video or listen to that great interview. Have you been following this closely? And what do you think about George Webb's coverage on that?
Look, I think he's done some fantastic research. I really do. What he's offered is some real journalism. I mean, real journalism, connecting the dots. He's not speculating on things. It's all coming straight from their own words, from their own emails. Mm-hmm. You know, the emails of people like Blumenthal and Podesta and Hillary Clinton. You know, the links to human trafficking and the manufacture of war. Everything that's been going on for the last couple of decades. I mean, even way back as far as Kosovo, what happened in Yugoslavia, the Balkanization of Yugoslavia. You can see that Hillary Clinton's hands are even on that. It goes so deep. It's really, really outstanding journalism that he's put forth here, and it's something that everybody out there can get into and understand because it's in their own words. It's not conspiratorial. It's not something that you've really got to think about, and it's not speculation. This shows in their own language that the people the man on the street can understand this. You know, you've got a serious criminal element which has infiltrated the US political system. It's being run by the Clinton Foundation mainly. Of course, there are other players as well. But what this foundation is doing, I mean, it's no wonder the world is in such a terrible state. And we've seen so much war in the last couple of decades, and all of this has come from the Clinton Foundation. I think it's really outstanding journalism that he's done. There's a bigger picture to it. I mean, he's not saying all the things, but with what he's looking at, he's pretty well nailed it, and he's put it all together in such a way that anybody can understand it. All you've got to do is go through those videos, and you see all the connections, all the smoking guns, and blatant, like in their own words, like, you know, send me the plan for the top level of Libya, all this sort of stuff. Like, all of this stuff was planned in advance, and it was all done for mainly financial reasons. I mean, all of these wars that we've seen and all these attacks against these countries we've seen have basically been bank robberies. I mean, they go in there and they steal all the resources, including the people, and they transfer it all offshore. That's what Hillary Clinton's been involved in on a massive scale. And this exposes it all. So I think it's outstanding research, and I think everybody should go and look at the research of George Webb. You can find his YouTube channel. It's just George Webb with 2 B's. Or you can go to my website, thecrowhouse.com, and right there on the homepage, you'll see a link called Where is Eric Braverman? Just check that and check out those videos and watch how this case has been unfolding. It's pretty amazing stuff, really.
He really did a great job on that. I've only seen a couple of the videos. Now I want to go look at all of them, and especially the Gladio B portion of it. In regards to Gladio B, Gladio B is the Well, at Gladio was the act of leaving arms and supplies in a country after an action so that we can pick up where we left off before, or we can have other actors do so. And this is Gladio B,
Yeah, and
which
you'll
is
find that these Gladio actions are ongoing. Sorry, the lag was getting me there. I thought you'd finished, but you'll find that these Gladio operations are ongoing. There isn't just one Gladio operation. It's a code name for a particular operation, which you've just described, which happens in almost every one of these conflicts. There is a Gladio operation. So yeah, please continue. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you didn't interrupt. The lag actually helped us in that case. So here's the thing about that the leaving equipment in operations. Now, when I was over in Iraq the first time, we had people, different military units were destroying everything that they left behind so that the enemy could not use it instead of carrying it all back. To include truckloads of water, they would burn it so that the enemy could not use it after we left. It's such a huge waste, and it looks like contractors are making billions on this waste, in addition to starting up the next action that we're going to take overseas. I can only imagine what it's doing to the budget too, and all this. And the taxpayers here in America, we're the ones who's having to pay for all this stuff. Meanwhile, these contractors are making billions because it costs them nothing because the taxpayers are paying for it. It doesn't cost them anything to make this happen, and they just reap the rewards. Then the next action and the gold, the stealing of the gold. Did you had a lot on that too, didn't you?
The stealing of the gold. I mean, this happens in every country. Every country you go and invade, there's resources there. There's financial resources. There's the people, the human trafficking you can get. There's the oil and natural resources, and there's the gold. There's the money that they've got stashed. Usually, a lot of these dictators have got all sorts of assets all over the place. Like Gaddafi had something like 29 billion or something, 11 billion in gold or something, and 265 billion in hidden assets around Europe and stuff. So what they do is they find a way of stealing all of this stuff as well. You can't just steal a country's gold and all of its money and suddenly deposit it in your bank. It sort of looks suspicious. So what the Clinton Foundation has done is they've set up a gold mine in Haiti. And this gold mine in Haiti, I believe it isn't actually producing any gold at all. But what they can do, like they go into Libya, they get Gaddafi's 29 billion worth of gold, they funnel it into Haiti, and then they say, oh, look at the gold we found in our gold mine, and they pay a 2% finder's fee to the Haitian government, which is pittance. So that's a good way of laundering the money. You can bring all the gold in, you can bring all the money and say, oh, look, this money is from other gold we sold. Here's the books that we've got to show you. So they can do it all through the gold mine. This is where we're getting all our money from. It's from this gold mine in Haiti, which is producing no gold. This is how they're funneling all the resources out from all the countries they're overtaking, straight through Haiti. And there's projects going on in Dominica and all sorts of stuff which connect to this. So I really recommend people go and look at George Webb's videos and check it out. If you start at day 53 and go through from there, I mean, there's a lot of videos. There's about 50 or 60 videos now. There's 2 or 3 coming out every day that can be anything from 2 to 15 minutes. So there's new information coming out all the time. And it isn't just George Webb that's doing it. There's a whole community of online researchers which are pouring through the Clinton emails and connecting the dots and then sending information to George Webb, and he's simply compiling it in a way we can understand so we can get the update for the day. So, but there's this huge system that Hillary Clinton has set up. Like with the funneling of finances, they set up the IHRC fund, which is a way they can funnel all of these finances through into subsidiary companies and all sorts of stuff. It's very convoluted, but when you look at it, you see the Clinton Foundation can basically go into a country and undermine a country and overthrow it and steal all of its resources, and you'll find that there are major generals, heads of NATO, all sorts of people who have shares in companies who manufacture parts that they use in war. So all these people have a vested interest in making sure the war keeps going. And if you look at it, you'll get the oil barons. They'll go into a country, they'll identify an oil resource. Then the generals will figure out a strategy of how to take over that country, and then you get companies such as Otpor, which is prides itself on being a destabilization expert. They will come in, they'll destabilize the country so that the military can come in, the general can put their plan in and do all this, but ultimately it's all about the oil, it's about the pipeline.
Yes.
So that's the way they do it. But the Arab Spring, the way they did Arab Spring, they cooked up this whole concept that there was these protesters that wanted to overthrow the government, and then they get their own agents, who are the ones who started the protest. They get their own agents to start shooting civilians in the protests, and then they claim, the government is attacking civilians, barrel bombs, whatever. The US military needs to come in to protect the people, when it's these people who started it all to begin with, and the US military has just been played. These guys are going out there fighting wars for oil barons. They're not protecting national security. They're not protecting US interests. They're not spreading democracy. They're fighting bankers and oil barons' wars, and many of them simply don't know it.
Exactly. And you mentioned two things, the gold in Haiti, the gold mine in Haiti, and they're using that as a way to funnel the gold in from Libya and other places through Haiti. And here's the funny thing about that. The gold mine in Haiti, one of the board members is Hillary's brother. That's Hillary's brother.
Funny that, isn't it?
Isn't it? I mean, just a curious coinky-dink. Another thing you mentioned was Otpor. Now, I have covered Otpor and the George Soros operations and the Bald Fist operations that he has going on everywhere, and that including BLM, including he's even gotten involved in the marijuana movement, and so. I always suspect anything I see with anything that looks like a George Soros operation, I'm always watching that. And he's pretty much involved in everything. Now, have you heard of Bernard Levy? No, Henri Levy. I'm sorry, Henri Levy.
I have heard the name, yeah. I haven't looked into his stuff, though.
He is the George Soros of France in Algiers. Okay. And he's been working in... I just went blank on the name of the country. Not Chechnya, Ukraine. He's been working on that operation over there too. And everywhere he goes,
a horrendous situation in Ukraine. It is absolutely horrendous what's going on. So it wouldn't surprise me that there is a Soros or a Soros protege involved in it. It's the same thing, the human harvest. It's all connected. It's the same people doing it in all these different places all around the world. The amount of girls that they're getting out of Ukraine, the amount of the kids that are coming out of all this whole area here is insane. So please continue.
Yeah, and well, the slavery, the sex slave trade and slavery that's going on, this has been going on for quite some time, and I'm very concerned about anything that George Soros, and I'm surprised that he's still living. Nobody has thought to take him out or anything like that. Supposedly, all the people in America who have all these guns were supposed to be some rabid type of gun shooting, kill them all type of scenario. But that's not us at all. Because if that were the case, then Hillary would be gone. So would Barack Obama. So would George Soros, and all those kinds of operators. We would have taken care of that a long time ago, but we don't do that. We obey the law, and we know the law of what the laws are. We just don't do that. Natural law. Sorry, again?
Time for that to change. I'm not going to quit until there's not a Clinton left in office anywhere, because their scum has ruined the earth. It has ruined the earth. It's rape and pillage, rape and pillage, wherever we go.
Hillary Clinton is possibly one of the most evil people on earth. I mean, she really is. She's got so much blood on her hands. But the problem is that she doesn't even have to be involved in government to do this now, because she's set up everything while she was in the State Department. She set up the IHRC fund. She's got ties to NATO. She's got generals in her back pocket. She's got NATO in her back pocket. She's got mercenary armies in her back pocket. She's got everything she needs. She doesn't even have to be involved in government. And everything we see that went down in Libya and then went down in Syria happened independent of government. Okay, this was all done by private contractors. That's the thing. It doesn't matter if you get her out of politics. She's already set it up so that she doesn't have to be in politics. That's the problem. That's why this whole thing needs to be blown apart and blown open, wide open. Everybody needs to be talking about these emails. Everyone needs to be talking about the criminal cabal that the Clinton Foundation really is, because while you have this cancer in your society, and it's a cancer that has infected not only the government, but also the military, the international law, international courts, international military forces, it's affecting terrorist forces, supplying arms. 20,000 Stinger missiles were stolen from Gaddafi that have been given to ISIS. 15,000 of them are still unaccounted for. Sarin gas attacks to lay pipelines. This woman goes in there she's just like a bulldozer. She doesn't care about anything. She's not subtle. She just goes in there and just does whatever it takes. Absolutely no regard for the human cost at all. It's all about funning wealth and power into their hands. And she is absolutely heartless. She's a full-blown psychopath. And everybody needs to be talking about this, because you can never have a country, you can never have any form of viable government while you have this type of cancer, which is existing behind the scenes. It's got to be cut out.
Precisely. And the thing is that now that she has lost the presidency, I think she's going to exact revenge on any people she can find, anybody in her reach.
Well, you look at how many people have already died that have been associated with the Clinton Foundation. Anybody who starts to blow the list or starts looking into the books at all just mysteriously dies. How many people died in the last year that have been involved with Hillary Clinton? It's ridiculous. It's hard to keep up with them.
It gets deeper and deeper. And I know you talked with Chris and Cherie Geo about what they were covering. They were working on video films in regards to the spirit cooking thing and what it really means and what's really going on. And the depravity knows no ends here, it seems. And we're constantly shocked.
Well, yeah, it knows no ends. And everyone's, even when they're looking at it, they're going, oh, these are Satanists and they're this and they're that. And in a way, this is a cop-out. You're giving them an excuse for they're in this dark. And no, they like it. They like doing what they're doing. They like raping children. They like power. They like to have control. The human race is being farmed. It's as simple as that. They put all of these different things out there to send you down all these rabbit holes looking for who the hidden hand is and all this sort of stuff. All these conspiracies I can prove it's anybody you want. Anybody you want to point the finger at. All the information's out there to prove it's them. If that's what you want to believe, hey, you can believe that and then fight with the other guys who believe something different. That's what they want you to do.
Exactly.
Basically, all of these mechanisms are all there to keep us arguing amongst each other, to keep us guessing, and we're not ever looking behind the scenes as to what exists behind the scenes, which is this occult society, this group of people, this group of pedophiles who are all so incredibly compromised that you can't ever hope to get any remedy from this system. We've got to shine the light in the darkness. We really do, And you're not going to get any hope from the legal system. You're not going to get any remedy from the political system or any of this sort of stuff, because all of these people are compromised. That's the problem. Even with what we're trying to do with Hillary Clinton, the only way we're going to get any remedy here is if enough people find out about it and enough of the public stand up about it. Because you're not going to get, even if they investigate her, nothing real is going to cover it, because a lot of the people who are investigating it are compromised themselves.
Exactly.
They don't want all this pedophile activity coming out. They don't want people to know. They'd be quite prepared to hang Hillary Clinton out to dry if it's going to save them. So, you've really got to look at this. The whole system is compromised. There is a cancer within this society and within this whole political and legal system. It's all run on pedophilia and war, and it's about the human harvest. This is the first harvest when you go into any war zone. You go into a country, to Iraq or anywhere. Go into these countries, you march your troops in there. The first thing you do is steal the women and children and send them off to be sold. That's the first thing that happens every single time. People don't realize this. 8 million children trafficked around this world every year. And not to mention the ones that come out of war zones and the ones we don't hear about. The stuff that goes on in Thailand is unbelievable, the amount of child trafficking in Thailand. And all through the Philippines, and it's incredible all around this world. So we have to shine the light on this. And that's the only way it's going to be healed, because you're not going to get any remedy within the system. They're all compromised. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in positions of power. I guarantee everybody who's in a position of any real authority is compromised, because otherwise they wouldn't be there.
Well, we only have 5 minutes till the break, but when we get back from the break, I want to go into Trump and what you think on him, what you think he's going to do, if he's going to do anything, because his cabinet appointments seem to be counterintuitive to the fields that they're going to be governing. So that's going to be interesting. I wanted to also ask you before we go to the break, the situation in Gaza, okay? Because you've been covering a lot on what's going on in Gaza, the real stories over there, and why we're not seeing that now. And have you heard about what's happened to Netanyahu? He's being investigated again.
Investigated again, but I mean, it's theatre for the masses, isn't it? I mean, the man's a war criminal; he should be prosecuted. Should have been enough investigation into him already. The situation in Gaza is horrendous. They got like 2 or 3 hours electricity a day at the moment. There's virtually no drinkable water. They're going crazy. It's ready to explode. I mean, 17-year-old girls in there just sitting there cutting themselves with razor blades because they can't handle life. Everybody in there is in a state of post-traumatic stress from being bombed when they're kids. And you imagine being a 17-year-old kid in Gaza wanting to have a life, and you haven't even got water, you haven't even got electricity. You see all this world happening outside, and you can't participate because Israel won't let you. You know, it's incredible that this is still going on, and it's the greatest moral dilemma we face, and it has to be addressed. It really does.
It's Israel themselves. Israel is actually investigating Netanyahu for trying to promote giving exclusive stories to one newspaper there that's a capitalist newspaper versus the state newspaper, which and promised to squash the stories from the state newspaper. Yeah, they're messing with that freedom of press now. Mind you, this is our only democracy in the East, right? Our friends in the Middle East.
Democracy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Israel is not a democracy. It's an apartheid state. It's a democracy if you're a Jew, but it's not if you're anybody else.
Right. And it's not a republic, and it actually isn't a state. It's funny because there's a lot of people who believe that Palestine never existed before. And I'm sitting here having to produce maps and show maps of just Palestine, a particular map from Ptolemy, ancient maps I'm talking about, showing Palestine, not Jerusalem, or it would have Jerusalem in it, but it wouldn't have Israel.
I was actually on an interview on Caravan of Midnight a few weeks ago, and John B. Wells said to me, Palestine didn't exist before 1988. And he actually believes it.
Yeah.
He really believes it. He thinks that I don't know my history, and I can't call him names or anything. This is the history he's been taught, and he thinks it's real. And it's the same with a lot of the people in Israel. The history that they're taught, they believe it's real. They're not lying to you when they tell you Palestine didn't exist and that it's always been their land, and these are just Arabs stealing it. This is what they believe because that's what they've been taught. And they'll tell you you don't know history. And you get into these arguments which just go on for hours and hours and hours and hours and never get anywhere. And while you've been having these arguments, there's been more Palestinians killed, more homes bulldozed. It just goes on, So they just tie you up in these arguments. You better just go get a map. Go get a map. I got a visa here from someone applying to enter Palestine in 1936 or something. So I imagine the state must have existed if someone's applying for a visa to enter it. You got the Balfour Declaration, 1914, saying that they promised to create a home for the Jewish people in Palestine. Well, how can they create a home for the Jewish people there if the country doesn't exist? I mean, there's all sorts of documents.
A Jewish home in where? Palestine. A Jewish home where?
Exactly.
In Palestine. I mean, that confirms it right there.
Exactly.
Sharon had a question.
The Balfour Declaration.
Hang on. Sharon had a question.
Oh, I don't know if it's a question or a rant or a prayer. I was really sitting here thinking I was going to go into like super warrior prayer mode and bind a whole bunch of things, but there's not enough time for that. But I'm just looking at the bigger picture. Like I was saying earlier, it's been rape and pillage. So Israel, the children of God, have been hateful terrorists to everybody else. They go in and they get their land that they're given in Palestine, and then they proceed to kill everybody else around them. We pay them. Other countries pay them. They have more stockpiled weapons than half the world combined, and yet everybody's supposed to love them and respect them. Meanwhile, they got the Zionist state, which is not, the Israelis or the Jews, there's a difference. You got the Zionist state who's in cahoots with the Clintons and everybody else trying to rule the world. And I got to thinking, you know what? This earth really wasn't so bad. And this goes back to the guest I was talking to last night on Voices from Afar. There really wasn't, earth got along good until something came in and started making things bad. It started controlling us, started subverting us, started enslaving us, and then started making us feel guilty for what they've been doing to us.
Right on.
Think about it. I'm over it. And in the name of Christ Jesus and God above and Mother Earth, I am going to bind Hillary Clinton and everyone connected to her in the name of Christ Jesus so that she can be bound on earth as she will be bound in heaven. Because this ends. This ends. I don't know how anybody else feels, but I see the whole picture, and it just makes me sick. It makes me sick. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating. Maybe I'm a little too passionate. But it's just sick because they raped and pillaged Haiti. There was a hurricane that went through. They took all that. They did all that. They took the children.
And we're back. You're listening to Quantum Connections on truthfrequencyradio.com. We've got Max Igan joining us, Star and Lucky. And what we're talking about is what's really going on out there and all the interconnectedness of these crimes that we've witnessed here and what's been revealed in the emails of the Hillary Clinton and her campaign and the DNC and all this stuff that's coming to light. And Sharon, if you guys missed it, you just missed a great rant by Star the Oracle. And I'll tell you what, it's binding. So if you guys, I want everybody to listen to that again later on. I might even do a sound clip for that. That was
pray
good.
With me. The more we pray, two or more are gathered together and agree in His name, and is done. So
Precisely. And Max, where did you go, bud?
I'm here.
Here you are. Okay, cool. Okay. What I wanted to go into, yes, I can hear you now. I just didn't see on the lit up board area there. My question now was, what are you thinking with all the stuff that we know now? And I'm sure that Trump is aware of at least 50% of it. I'll just give him that much, 50% of it. What do you think this presidency is going to look like in regards to these criminals?
Look, I have no idea what Trump's going to do at this point. I mean, I think he might have gone in there with some ideas. Maybe he's just a player. I don't know. Maybe the whole thing was a scam. But what we're trying to do and what George Webb's trying to do with this is basically pressure the Trump administration to a position that it has to act. And I believe that Trump is watching this report as well. George Webb's done some investigation and he's confirmed that Trump has at least seen some of the video clips that have been put out about these Clinton emails. If enough people put enough pressure and make this enough, put enough public pressure on this and make this public enough, Trump will be put into a position where he has to act. And if he doesn't, that will be something that will spark a revolution. Because if people see the amount of corruption that actually exists and how rotten the cancer is at the core of the U.S. political system and where it's coming from, and like I said earlier, how can you expect to have anything good come in your country? How can you expect to have any type of, even a viable health system or anything that's going to work in your country when you have this type of cancer, which is leaching everything it can from the people, every cent it can get out of the people, every cent it can get out of other countries, all the human resources it can, pedophilia, human trafficking, manufacturing of war, child prostitution, so much stuff that is going on. And this is at the heart of the US political system. How can Trump even begin to have a presidency and begin to even do something for the country or even begin to be a real president if he's going to ignore this? It's as simple as that. It's a cancer. It needs to be cut out. So it's going to be up to the people. If enough people put enough pressure and put this out there public enough and get this into the minds of enough people, Trump will have no choice but to drain the swamp the way he said. But even having said that, I mean, the things that he's setting up, the ties that he's setting up with Israel and some of the things he's doing, I mean, it's not looking very promising at all. But even that, I mean, maybe that's a good thing because maybe it'll push people to the point that they'll realize that there are no leaders. No one is coming to save them. They need to stand up for themselves. So whichever way it goes, it's ultimately going to come down to the people. But I think we're really reaching ahead. And I think that with the right push from the independent media and with the right push from the people, we could see some real change during the Trump presidency. Because Trump's in a unique position, whether he's a player or not. With enough public pressure, Trump can, in the eyes of all the sleeping masses out there, he can actually drain the swamp and completely change the direction the United States is going, and America will still maintain face because he has no political history. You can't say, he's a Democrat, he's this, he's that. He's got no political history. He's just a businessman that's coming to drain the swamp, and he can actually get away with it. If he does it, he could pull it off and actually do it. But I don't think that's his real intention. But he may just get pressured into doing that if we can make this public enough. So, I mean, it's anybody's guess. It's anybody's guess. If he really does try to do the right thing, very likely he'll get assassinated. But, I mean, there is potential for it, but I don't know. We're just going to have to see where it goes. It's not going to be too long to wait. I think it'll all unfold very, very quickly as soon as he gets to that big chair. Let's see if he does launch an investigation into the Clinton Foundation. Let's see if he does remove foreign lobbyists. And let's see how he goes with the funding Israel situation. Those three things will show what Trump's made of.
Israel doesn't need our stinking money. Israel doesn't need our money. They've got jobs. They've got all their other things. They don't need our money. We need to take care of our own. And if there is somebody that can help flip this switch right now, I think it is Trump. But at the same time, we the people have become more aware of everything. The false flags are so easy to see through. It's like trying to hold water in a sieve. It just ain't going to happen. So if we don't shut up, if we don't back down, if we keep going forward fearless, then we got this. We're going to go forward. If we pray, you guys have got to pray. I don't care what you believe. Prayer works. It works. My life is testament to that. Prayer works. I know it does. Just pray to God. Just pray. Whatever you bind in heaven is bound on earth, and that is part of it. The other part is what you say, what you think, what you do, what you keep pushing forward. You know, don't buy into the hype. Stay focused on the issues. Stay focused on the goal, and see that this is worldwide. It is the nastiest cancer. It is satanic ritual because it's using humans. Humans are divine creations with creative abilities. We are their power source. We, the human beings, are the quantum energy power source. That's why they keep taking us and taking our energy, using our sweat, our labor, taxing us for every penny, taking more and more away from us, taking our freedoms, taking our rights, taking our time to think for ourselves, taking our children. They take. Satan cannot create. He can only copy. We can create. We are co-creators. What we think we can manifest. What we believe is what we will be living. What you focus on is where your energy goes, and that's where you're going to go. So that's where it comes back to, are you living in fear or are you living in love?
Right. So there it is. Wow, my girl. The thing is, and that's why we need to shine a light on this ugliness, get it done, and get it purged. It's like an infection. An infection, like if you have a sore or a boil or something like that, an infection, you got to squeeze all that out, let the light get on it, and heal that. Okay,
and love is the antidote. Love is the antidote because we love ourselves, respect ourselves, and we love our neighbors and respect our neighbors. Start doing for ourselves. Do things off the grid. Grow your own food. Become non-dependent on government because they only reel you in. They go, oh, here's these trinkets. Here's these trinkets. They're shiny trinkets, and we buy into it. Don't become dependent on government. Become independent to where you don't need them. You don't rely on them. They have less influence. It's a whole way of being that we have to step away from it. Go on, Max. Somebody,
please, Max. Sharon went on a rant again.
We do. We've got to step away from the whole thing. We do, but it's understanding what love is as well. Love is the opposite of fear. I mean, you've got to be in a state of not fear to be able to do it. It isn't being all warm and fuzzy and thinking you can love Hillary Clinton into doing the right thing, because you can't. She's a psychopath.
Right. Exactly.
You know, but if you're in a state of not fear, which is what love is, it's the opposite of fear, then you are going to stand up for yourself. You know, people can just adjust their moral compass to do what is right, and all that they do, and disregard any legislation which causes you to step outside your moral compass, and question any authority which causes you to step outside your moral compass. Then we can change the world in a day. We really can. It's our tolerance of this evil, and it's our willingness to look the other way in the face of atrocities. We see a police officer beating up someone, and we think it's okay because he's got a uniform on, and we've got to address this sort of stuff. We've got to not shy away from looking into the mirror of evil, because once we look into that mirror, we can heal. When you look into the mirror of evil, you don't become evil yourself. You see that evil for what it is, and you see the beauty in yourself, and you see the ability that you have to heal that evil by simply shining the light on it. So that's what we need to do, change our moral compass and be in that in all that we do, and we'll change the world very quickly.
One of the things I find fascinating is that we are to put on the armor of God, the full armor of God. Amor is love. Amor in Spanish is love. A-M-O-U-R. Armor, A-M-O-R. So when you put on your armor, you are in love. The armor of God is in perfect love casts out all fear. So when you're truly standing in the fullness and the love of God, then you are being your full self, and you can be that fearless full self and shine that light to others, and they see that. But when you keep turning your eye to things, there's nowhere to turn anymore to where you can't see anything. You can turn 10 degrees, you can turn 180 degrees. This crap is everywhere. You can't turn a blind eye anymore. It's everywhere. So what do? Do you give up, or do you fight for your life?
Well, yeah, you shine the light on it. You've got to shine the light on it and heal it. That's how we heal it, is to shine the light on it. You know, connect with the people around you. Realize that we're all in this together, and shine the light on it. Just don't leave it ignored. Don't leave it sitting in the darkness, in the blackness where you won't look. Bring it into the light so people can see it. You know,
Yes.
we've got to expose it for what it is, and we've got to talk about it as uncomfortable as it is. We need to, because otherwise it's going to continue. If we continue to ignore it, then the problem's going to continue. We can't hope to have any type of remedy. You know, voting people in, voting people out, thinking we can start some national movement or international movement, or thinking we can start some sort of program or movement in our own country, even some permaculture society or anything. While this element is here farming this species, there's no hope for us to find any remedy for the human condition. So we need to bring this into the light so people can see it, so they can step away from the farm and realize that they are being farmed. And that's a difficult thing for people, you know. That's what we have to do. You know, it's by bringing this and making it common knowledge in the minds of everybody that we're going to heal the situation.
I have something else to add to this. I want to add to this real quick. Those who are investigating these things, and they're feeling very alone in this. Okay, when they go into the deep, dark stuff and try to expose this, it is not good to leave them alone. Reason being is because they're feeling alone, and they need our support.
Attacked. They're getting demonically attacked, and yes,
they need our support too. They need our support, and to know that we're in their corner, we're backing them up. Whatever you need done, let us help. You know, whatever we can do to help. Don't be in there alone, exposing yourself to this evil by yourselves. It's very hard and dark in there, in some of these arenas, and those who are trying to dig out all the filth. Okay, don't leave them alone in there. Support them. Talk to them. Make sure that they're okay. Give them a call once in a while if you have their phone number. Give them a call, or applaud their efforts and things like that, because they're going to be bringing up stuff that nobody else is talking about and nobody else is covering. You know, so if you have friends that are checking into this stuff, check on them. Make sure that they're on the right track, or check on them and let them know that you love them, so that they could continue to work if they so desire, because some are going to quit. Some of them are going to just walk away from it entirely. And I highly recommend you support those who are investigating this, even if they're just starting their investigation today and they said, "Did you hear about this?" Yes, I have heard about this and this and this. Well, I'm going to look into this myself. Okay. If you need help with something, let me know. If you're starting to feel funny, just give me a call. I'm here for you. That kind of thing. We have to support those who are researching into this dark stuff and exposing. And not only that, but let's look at Rich Seth. Okay, he died alone. Did he not? He knew all this stuff, and he was reporting some of this stuff on the Hillary Clinton or the DNC. And what happened? He was alone when he was killed. Don't leave these researchers alone. Don't leave them alone. Yeah, bug them sometimes. You know, be a pain in the butt and say, "Hey, I just want to see how you doing." Well, I ain't got time now. I can't be talking. I got to look at this. And well, I'm just checking on you to see if you're okay. All right, you know, and we have to support these people and offer to be the dead man switch. Okay, there's something called the dead man switch. What a dead man switch is that if a researcher has information and they've got all this stuff compiled, don't have a case yet, but if they get killed because of their investigation that they're doing and what they're about to expose, make sure that somebody's got a file that gets released to the press immediately, because after the person's dead, it's not going to do them any good to have that information in their computer.
Yeah, exactly. Those sorts of things are a good idea, but make sure it's not just released to the press. Make sure it's released to the independent media and posted online as well. Make it public.
Oh, of course, that's what I meant when I said press. I'm talking about all media.
Yeah, make it public property. But yeah, it is good to support people because it's very dark when you start looking into all of this pedophile activity and what's really going on behind the scenes. It's dirty. It makes you feel dirty. You feel like you've been swimming in a dumpster. You know, it's toxic. It makes you smell bad. You know, so you feel like you've got to go and wash yourself after looking at some of it. It really is disturbing. So people who are looking into it very often, they go so deep, and then they have to back away because it's just getting too much for them. You know, if you're looking at this, it's important to when you're examining it, you kind of have to remove your own emotional or spiritual filters from looking at the information. You have to look at it academically. In order to understand a psychopath, you have to understand how a psychopath thinks. In order to do that, you have to move your own emotional filter, you know, your own moral filter even. Because you start looking at things and, well, no, that couldn't be possible. Well, yes, it is possible, and it's probable, and it's what they do. But you can't admit that because of your own moral filter and your own emotional filter. You've got to remove that and look at it academically. That's how I can look at it. I've been explaining to people the nature of the dark bliss that they feel. You know, the bliss that we feel when you're connected to whatever it is that gets you there, whether it's God, whether it's having a baby, whether it's making love, whether it's just that moment that you have with someone sometimes where you feel that huge, you know, surge of empathy in yourself and that form of bliss. The dark bliss is also there. That's the other side of the energy. And if you can remove all attachment to goodness and just totally immerse yourself in the blackness of the joy of ripping someone to pieces, this is what they feel. It's joy for them. This is bliss for them. And it's very hard for any normal person to be able to even say the sentence that I just said, you know, the joy of ripping someone to pieces. How can that be joyful? Well, if you're in that dark bliss, it is, because that's what they do. You have to look at it academically in order to understand it. And that's the problem people have. When they go into this research, they continue to look at the information through their own emotional and moral filter, and they end up completely drained. They end up destroyed. It gets hold of them. It pollutes their soul, and they just can't handle what they're finding out. You have to put yourself in that stone-cold academic state in order to even be able to handle the information and to look at it with any form of objectivity to be able to actually understand what's going on. Because if your emotional filter stays in place or your moral filter stays in place when you're looking at it, you're always going to be not really looking as deep as you should. There's always going to be places that you just don't want to go because you cannot believe it's possible. So remove all belief. You know,
I call that
clinical
detachment. Clinical detachment is what I call that removing of your emotional filters.
Well, it's what has to be done. It's hard for some people to do it, but if you're going to look at this information, it's really the only way you will survive the onslaught of what you're going to find.
Right, because you can't come back out of that untouched. And if you do it right, you'll never look at things the same again. It's not that you'll see it everywhere.
But if you go in there with your emotions, your emotional filter intact, and your moral compass still in that place, and you go there, it's going to damage you. It's going to really damage you, and it'll drive a lot of people insane. It'll drive people to a point where they'll back away from the whole thing and just want to go and live in a hole and wait for the world to end. You know, it really can affect people that much. It's so dark.
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. That's why I had to stop investigating for a while too, because I was afraid of that very thing. Because, to be honest with you, looking at that dark stuff and that's why I told Star, I was like, you don't want to look, honey, because she's an empath. Okay, Star is an empath, and when she saw some of the stuff, she lost it.
Yeah,
well, you get to the point where the energy itself, the evil that controls the world, it exists in everywhere. It's been it's in everything. It's all over the place. You know, when you really start going into yourself and looking at those bits in yourself and finding these dark areas, and you find out how all pervasive this psychopathy is that's running the world, you get to a point where it becomes it's hopeless. You think it's hopeless, isn't it? It's completely and utterly irrelevant. Anything I do, it's like you're just being suspended over a void of complete blackness, and you just think, what is the point? It's so all-pervasive that I may as well just kill myself. It's that point. But then you can get to that point and you think, well, hang on. If it's making me think this, then this too is an illusion, and it wants me to kill myself because I'm onto it. and I can actually move forward and shine some light here now, and I can actually move things forward energetically, because I've got to that point of complete and utter despair, and I realize that also is a trap. That is a thought that's been put in my mind. It's been implanted there to make me take my own life, to make me give up and think that it's hopeless. So of course it's an illusion, because it's a thought, so it's an illusion,
Yes.
Remove all thought from it and just act from the heart. This is how it works. You've got to really look at where your thoughts are coming from, if your thoughts are really your own, especially when you start looking at this dark stuff. And when you get to that point of utter despair and utter hopelessness, realize that that's the point of change. That's the point where you can really move forward from that point, because you've just reached the ultimate illusion and the ultimate play of the trickster, to make you think that's because that's how close you've come. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Max,
really important
I have never heard,
because I have been to that point. I've been to that point myself of being in utter despair, and I've realised that is the turning point. So never ever give up.
I had never heard such an eloquent and concise way of putting all of that, which I knew, into words. That was so beautifully put, and I'm going to record that for history, because you're exactly right. And you illustrated everything perfectly there. And I thank you for that, and I'm honored that you did so on my show, because a lot of people don't get this. They don't understand this. And until you just said it that way, now we all get it. And quite concisely, like I said. In the last 5 minutes, we have a caller that's been waiting on hold. And I'm sorry about that, fellow. Do you want to take a caller, Max?
Sure.
Okay. Looks like Kevin in Minnesota. Kevin, you're on the air.
Hello. Thank you so much for taking my call. This is Naysayer Kevin from Minnesota. First of all, Max, I just want to say how thoroughly excited I am to have the opportunity. I've been following your work, I want to say 7 to 9 years now. I think I recall off the top of my head. So thank you so much for doing what you do. However, the one thing that I wanted to bring up, because I am blind, I take words more literally than people usually do. And when you talk about shining the light on the darkness, unfortunately with that sentence, it makes me think of the people that are perpetrating the horrendousness, that utilize the flashlight to shine it into the darkness. Therefore, it doesn't put the light on themselves. So if I may add humbly that we should more or less be the light in the darkness. Because if we are being the light, then not only can we show what's in the darkness, but we can also be a beacon to other lights. And when we become a beacon of light and other people become beacons, we just keep continuing to shine brighter and brighter. And if we can get into that thought of acting locally and thinking globally and being the light in our own community, then we have a possibility of shifting the whole paradigm of this darkness. But thank you guys so much, and I'll let you go. And you too, with your show, it's great to witness how your guys' show is increasingly rising. So thank you guys. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, Naysay. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you very much, Kev. That was a really beautiful thing to say, and it's true. I mean, when I say shine the light in the darkness, what I'm saying is that the darkness is just the place we won't look. The things we won't look at, the things we ignore. We have to stop doing that. We have to turn and bring them into the light. And be the light yourself. Absolutely, that's how you shine the light, is by being the light, by bringing this information to people. So I totally appreciate what you're saying, and thank you so much for the wonderful words about the show. That is just really beautiful, and it's very humbling to have you out there like a blind man listening to just the words and taking it on and having that insight to offer. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you for calling up.
Indeed.
And putting on that armor of God and being in love, you then shine brightly. That is the light. The more love you have, the brighter you shine. And when you are the beaming light, it's like everything else is blinded to what you actually are, because the light is shining. So that is how it is the armor and the protection. Even one little light can help dispel darkness. It melts away. So yes, I agree. Thank you, Naysay. Yes, we have to be the light within our whole self, and that's the integrity, where your mind, your body, your words, your thoughts, your deeds, everything is in integrity and focused on in one direction, because you can't be divided against yourself because you won't stand. So you have to shine that and be it. And it's a daily thing where you just decide to be in yourself, and then that you do speak truth, you do spread the light, you are the light, and then you can conquer the darkness a whole lot easier, especially together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, in the last minute that we have here, give us again your website, Max, if you would, please.
My website is thecrowhouse.com. You'll find everything about me there. There's also the Full Circle Project, which is fullcircleproject.net, that you can find the community connected to, hopefully form an action group in your local area. But my own website, my personal website, is thecrowhouse.com, and you'll find links to all my stuff there.
Awesomeness. And I just, what's your next project that you're working on? I mean, I know you said about the Full Circle, but what is the
I've got a
next
couple of films.
Election, he worries what a Trump presidency will do. Look for the president to practically dare Republicans.